Good morning. It is Thursday. I almost forgot what day it was. It's Thursday. Today we have jobless claims. We also have challenger job cuts dropping in about 13 minutes or so. The NASDAQ is slightly red on the day after pushing up yesterday on maybe some potential stabilization in the Iran conflict. But if we take a look at oil today, guys, oil's still pretty elevated. It's up to $77 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate crude. $77 a barrel, hit 78. Yeah, it hit 78s earlier today, and so oil's pretty close to the highest it's been in a while here. The last time oil was anywhere near this high was back in June of last year, and we are getting news recently that broke that said Iran's foreign minister says if the EU remains silent on the Middle East, the bad stuff's going to happen. They say that the UK Foreign Office Minister Falconer says there are indications this is a crisis of weeks and possibly months in the Middle East. You're also getting news about an Iranian remote-controlled boat targeting Bahamas flag crude tanker waiting in Iraqi waters, according to an initial assessment from Iraqi port security. Japan's trade minister Akazawa is heading to the United States to discuss the 10% alternative tariffs with the U.S. Commerce Secretary Lutnick. And yeah, today I'd say we're still in risk-off mode, even though we pushed up some yesterday. Wait, where's my docket? There it is. Do I have to refresh this? How does this docket work? Here, let me see. Oh, I think I gotta pop out the chat here. What's up, Steve, Eric, Edward, Muffin, Demetrius, Yee, MMA, Brian, Arif, Jonathan, Bam Bam, Jay, Todd, AI, R, Brad, Ava, Gamer. What's up, guys? Good morning. Hope you guys are doing good today. Let me pop out this chat so I can get to work here. And then remember, the big payroll report is tomorrow. But we had some Fed members speak yesterday, and essentially what they said is that we're going to probably stay paused for longer, is what they're thinking. Probably. Wait, how do I pop out this chat here, guys? Hold on. There we go. But yeah, we have challenger job cuts at 7:30. So in 10 minutes, we do have challenger job cuts. Not the biggest release, but if it shows up crazy, if it shows up with crazy numbers, that's a situation where we can get movement, to be honest. So if it does show up at some like weird, crazy level here, it can get crazy. It can get crazy. So again, we'll see. Will challenger job cuts. What will jobless claims show up today at? Let me know what you guys think. Where will challenger job cuts or jobless claims show up today? We do have both of those coming out today. Not as much movement today. Robinhood is up. China came out saying they were expecting the worst GDP growth for them in decades last night. Yeah, it's like I said, I think there's some fear going on right now. I really do. I think there's some fear. We'll see if it holds, but I do believe there's some fear going on right now. We have jobless claims, unemployment, and more today. And yeah, look at oil, guys. So oil is up. I'm checking out the quotes here. I'm trying to get the thing where I can use the chat overlay thing pop out. I gotta figure out how to do this again, I guess. Yeah, we'll throw the Docker back up. But yeah, look at the NASDAQ here. So the NASDAQ's slightly green on the day, over 25,000. I am watching that 25,000 level. The SPY is pretty flat as well. And really, if we look at the SPY, we're slightly green since December, October, November, but not a crazy amount green here. Not a crazy amount green. And so we'll see if we continue to see that here. But very flat, I would say, very flat. And even markets today, they're slightly green. The NASDAQ, again, slightly over 25,000. I am going to be watching that 25,000 level. But yeah, only slightly green over the last few days. So fears are still here. Saudi Arabia is diverting millions of barrels of its crude oil to a port on its Red Sea coast, helping the world's top exporter maintain supply to global markets. And we did get, I think it was JP Morgan come out saying they think oil might continue to be volatile because of everything going on overseas. We had some rumors of other stuff. We had Kroger release earnings this morning. Kroger did show up releasing earnings. They showed up here for earnings. And yeah, we'll see. We'll see, guys. Iraqi port security said the first recorded attack on a ship in Iraq's exclusive economic zone water since the U.S.-led strikes on Iran began on February 28th. But key headline is escalating U.S.-Iran tensions. Strait of Hormuz basically closed. It supplies 20% of the world's oil. Threats to shipping and reports that LNG, which is liquefied natural gas, if you don't know what LNG stands for, flows from Qatar disrupted and tankers are rerouting. Brent is up 6% roughly. Let's see. Still roughly about 6%. Futures are slightly red. Still unresolved Iran war. And again, the big question is, how long does this last? And I don't know. AVGO's wake up. Broadcom. So yeah, we can take a look at Broadcom. Here's Broadcom right here. We're going to take a look at yields. Broadcom, I believe, had earnings, good earnings yesterday. And so they are elevated up from it. Bitcoin had a big run as well. If we take a look at TradingView Bitcoin chart, Bitcoin at 73 almost. So Bitcoin back up to almost 73,000. Look at Bitcoin right here. I'm watching 75, but the high of the day in Bitcoin is up here at 73.5. So Bitcoin and gold, let's go. Yeah, taking a look at gold. Bitcoin again at 73s. Gold, 51.75. Still kind of flat, to be honest, over the last few days. Silver, again, had a big drop early, late last night, early this morning, and then rebound all the way back up to 84.60s here. So, again, Challenger job cuts drop in 6 minutes, guys. 6 minutes for Challenger job cuts. But yeah, Bitcoin, Bitcoin thriving over here, kind of, somewhat. What's up, Faye? What's up, Jay? Okay, so we're here. Okay, so yeah, I think I got the chat doc set up. I want to make sure I did. Hold on. Yes, I did. All right, cool. So let me see if I can press this and make the chat go up. I thought Broadcom will give us another bull run today. Okay, there it is. It's working. All right, cool. I was trying to make sure that works. I'll have to put the timer somewhere else. But, yeah, you can see Ramy's comment on screen now. I thought Broadcom would give us another bull market today. I don't know if Broadcom's heavily weighted enough. It's a big weighted stock, don't get me wrong. But I don't know if it could save the market like it's NVIDIA or something else here, is what it is. So, Broadcom, big stock. I don't know if it's going to save the market like that, though. What's up, Arg? Good morning. Yeah, we saw this news earlier that China came out yesterday saying that they were expecting the worst GDP growth for them in decades last night. So I'm going to just copy Pawn's quote and restate it here. But yeah, look at this. So China came out saying they were expecting the worst GDP growth for them in decades last night. If we put up the yield graph here, like look at 10-year treasuries. They are hyper elevated, I would say, over the last few days. They're already back up to 4.121%. And so this is basically the market pricing in higher for longer odds in regards to the Fed. So higher for longer odds, potentially yields pushing up, showing lower interest rate sentiment. Silence is always good. Silence is always good. And yeah, it's a scary market right now. It really is. Today we have jobless claims unemployment at 8:30. If we take a look at the odds here, let's watch the Challenger job cuts. So Challenger job cuts does release. Odds are 2.7% for a rate cut. 2.7% odds of a rate cut this month. Unlikely. Very unlikely that we're going to cut rates in March. Especially now, I think with all the stuff going on, high inflation and PPI inflation last week, I just think it's less likely we're going to cut interest rates. Maybe, like, I think the odds are now looking at September. Any word on Alibaba? We can take a look at Alibaba here. Here's silver. Alibaba at 130s right now. I have to pay attention because we do get the Challenger job cuts coming out pretty soon. But yeah, Baba, again, I'm not really interested in buying Baba. Baba's probably down, or Baba's been down over the last 5 days plus. Really, it's been down. I just don't trust Chinese stocks as much, to be honest, just because of the government there. Like, the government there makes it a little bit risky. I think most companies know, but after what happened to Alibaba, I'm very hesitant to buy Chinese stocks. And so, you know, Alibaba, I remember when this was under $100 a share. It might be a good stock. So don't let me talk you out of it. But I think the risk holding long term. Short term, there might be some good edge, but it's kind of risky. About puts, I think the market will tank 3%. When? Today? It's possible. Challenger job cuts should be dropping pretty soon. Let's prepare for that. And again, Challenger job cuts, not a huge release, but if they show up wildly over expected, last time they showed up at 108.4. So if we show up higher, and that was pretty high last time at 108. But let's see, we have less than a minute now for Challenger job cuts. Let's see what we get. About to buy the dip now. The dip in what? Baba? Hey, good luck, friend. Good luck. It might be good. I really don't know. It might be good. It might not be. All right, here we go. Challenger job cuts should be dropping pretty soon. All right, here we go. About 10 seconds here, guys. About 10 seconds. Again, last time they showed up at 108.43 thousand. And here's Challenger job cuts right here. Let's see what they show up as. Challenger job cuts showed up at 48.3 thousand. 48.3 thousand. About over half of what they did. Over 50% less than what they showed up last time for Challenger job cuts. 48.3 thousand. 48.3 thousand for Challenger job cuts. Not a crazy amount, to be honest. Nasdaq's not really reacting to this, I would say. But here's the Challenger job cut numbers. What's really going to make markets react negatively is super weak jobs, like super high Challenger job cuts. But this is just the first small labor report. The next one we get is jobless claims later on today. And yeah, Berkshire Hathaway started repurchasing shares of common stock under its policy on March 4th via a via filing. News is not moving the market. Yeah, it's probably not going to. I almost never. The only reason I'm covering this time is because last time it did move markets. Last time Challenger job cuts showed up really high, like shockingly high. And so because of that, I wanted to watch this one to see if this would have some big market influence, and then, you know, it didn't really, but that's okay. That's all right. Nothing is always going to move markets. Not everything is always going to move markets. So, but yeah, negative 71.9%. Previous was 117% higher. Previously was 108.4. This time they should have been 48. Seem back to normal. What's up, Andrew? Having some coffee. Yeah, I'm drinking my coffee as well here. Waking up for the day. But we'll see what the jobless claims report shows. So we'll see what the jobless claims report shows. Seem back to normal. Never heard of this Challenger thing. Yeah, there's some reports, guys. Like, I cover all the reports because that's kind of what my channel does, is cover economic data and reports. But a lot of the reports that we cover, it's all going to be relative to what the numbers are. If the numbers are flat, or if the numbers don't show fear, the markets are not going to react in a big way for a lot of these reports. So it just depends on what they show up as. We cover them, but here's silver, guys. Look at silver. Not red folder news. Lesser job cuts would calm the market, but would delay rate cuts as well. To a certain extent, job cuts probably, challenger job cuts are not really going to have that much influence, I think. These are more, challenger job cuts are more future predictions. Or future outlook for it. But look at silver, guys. So silver made this massive drop overnight. What they're blaming this on is a big unwinding of the war premium and speculative long positioning. Essentially what happened is yesterday the Iran shock was partially digested. Dollar strength, higher yields, and heavy technical selling pushed prices lower and thin liquidity overnight. I'm trying to make sure there's no other news. ECB minutes report just came out. So the ECB minutes report said members agreed inflation should stabilize at the 2% target in the medium term, supporting patience and policy optionality. Most judged inflation risk two-sided and broadly unchanged since the previous meeting. Some judged inflation risks tilted to the downside, citing Chinese import competition, euro appreciation, and weaker exports. A few judged risks tilted to the upside, citing energy prices, wage pressure, and stronger growth momentum. Several argued rates could remain at current levels for an extended period. And so it's very similar to what we see. Oil and silver going up. Yeah, silver back up, filled the entire gap on the downside. Gold back up as well. So we'll see if it holds. Jobless claims are at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. 8:30. I'll buy it if it goes back to 70 or 80 again. Yeah, I'm not even necessarily mad at that. I'm not mad at you buying it if it goes back there, to be honest. Ramy. Like, I kind of understand that here. So. Members agreed inflation should stabilize. But yeah, challenger job cuts. 48K. ECB members speaking. But the big story, to be honest here, is tomorrow. The big story is tomorrow. The NFP labor report tomorrow, live at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. That is going to be the biggest market moving thing to end the week. Absolutely biggest thing. So again, the NFP labor report tomorrow at 8:30 is huge. We did have news. China's government has created a 100 billion yuan special fund to strengthen domestic demand. The goal is to reduce the cost of financing for businesses, increase household spending and spending power, and grow the supply of goods and services. Official report confirms this initiative regarding China. We had a record number of American workers are withdrawing money from their 401k accounts to cover financial emergencies, according to the Wall Street Journal. NVIDIA did reallocate manufacturing capacity at Taiwan Semiconductors away from H200 chips to its next generation Vera Rubin hardware, according to the Financial Times as well. And so, yeah, NVIDIA refocuses TSMC capacity as export controls stall China sales. So they're basically producing less. China's basically producing less H200 chips because not as many as they thought are getting sold in China. And instead, they're putting their focus, it looks like, in terms of Taiwan Semiconductor manufacturing of those chips to the Vera Rubin hardware, apparently. And this is according to Financial Times. Financial Times. Palantir. Another stock that's been running on all this stuff is Palantir. Palantir, a few days ago, was at 130s, 120s. on the 24th of February. This was at 126, 125s. It is now at 153 basically today. So Palantir, with 6 consecutive green days, the current administration halted government work with Anthropic over safety disputes, which ended up causing Palantir to replace Claude AI in its Pentagon Maven military platform. Because of that, Rosenblatt raised the price target on Palantir from 150 to 200, citing defense positioning aspects. And so Palantir having some movement over the last few weeks here on the conflict. Palantir, again, good. It's a defense. It does a lot of contracts with the Department of War and Defense, apparently. So Palantir up a huge amount, 152s right now. Is it still time to buy Palantir, guys? Let me know. I looked at Baba already today. Yeah. And I'm still checking on this news here. FedEx is going to spin off FedEx Freight on June 1st with their earnings release on March 19th in a couple weeks, right around the Fed meeting. Supermicro Semiconductors as well. If you look at SMCI is at 3250s. Apparently it has a MACD global golden cross signal. Signed a 3-party MOU with SK Telecom and Schneider Electric to co-develop modular AI data center solutions. Yeah, I'm checking other breaking news to make sure nothing else has come out. All right, so Israel is telling Beirut southern suburb residents to leave, apparently. Challenger job cuts, again, fall 71.9% year over year. Showed up at 48.307 thousand. We had the ECB minutes report. UPS was a big drop. Yeah, UPS. It's had a good couple months here since September, but it's about flat. Maybe it's definitely a little red over the last 12 months since March of 2025. So the market is going to tank from now on. Market's tanking from now on. I don't know, man. It depends on I think a lot of different stuff. It's looking less likely that we're going to ease anytime soon, though. So it's looking less likely that we're going to be easing anytime soon in markets. That's one aspect. Again, less likely that we're going to be easing. So, but if we look at the NASDAQ today, we might try to trade a little bit. But you can kind of see how flat we are right now. We have jobless claims in about 50 minutes, by the way, Chad. About 50 minutes. Here's the NASDAQ. We have this range, and we've been in this range since September on the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is really in a sideways range. And maybe some of the best trades that you might be able to find here is if we break over or under this range. It's not a small range necessarily. Like if we take a look at the bottom is about 24K. The top is, you know, the all-time highs. So we're in this range around all-time highs on the NASDAQ. But it's not super easy to find a longer-term trend here outside of the upward trend that we're seeing. But since October, really, end of September, beginning of October, the NASDAQ is in this sideways range. And so the question is, what comes first here, guys? We're almost exactly at the middle, and I think this is a great question. I also don't think I've done a poll yet today, have I? Triple witching on 320. Bottom will likely come this month. Yeah, what I was going to ask in the chat, I'm not going to do a poll about it. But which happens first? Break of highs or break of bottom? Breakdown under 24,000. Which happened first? Break of... yeah. Okay, so let me know. What happens first? Break of the all-time highs or breakdown under 24K in the NASDAQ? And you can see the range we're talking about here. What do you guys think happens first here? Let me fix this. So again, you can comment on this. Which happens first? Break of all-time highs or breakdown under 24K in the NASDAQ? I see Graphene saying all-time highs is gonna be the winner. I see Becky say breakdown here. I see Dave say highs. I see R say downski. Very good question. Betting big and breaking down, apparently. Let's do a poll here. Guys, what's a good poll for the day? I know we could probably keep it to... Again, some diplomats in Riyadh ordered to shelter in place over potential threat, according to 2 sources. Reckitt CEO says Middle East operations aren't a big part of emerging markets unit, and it's too early to quantify impact of conflict on business. It's in that big range because big guys are selling and buying. Soon it will drop like it's Bitcoin from its top. Was that a wrap? Hey, beginner trading. How is the stock market? How is it today? Stock market sentiment gap up or gap down? To be honest, we're kind of flat here. So we're slightly red on the day, but this is after a pretty big day yesterday. And so we're slightly red on the day, but yesterday was a green day. And so we had some stabilization and some contraction in the tensions and fears regarding Iran. But if we look at oil, oil's still elevated, still maintaining its war risk premium is what they're calling this. So oil still elevated, showing fears in the Middle East, worries in the Middle East, conflict worries, longer term conflicts potentially getting priced in. But essentially we're flat, we're slightly red today. We are flat. Breakdown. Liquidate and rip. I'm not even mad at that. I think that's possible. Liquidate and rip. What's up, Vegas? Yeah, I'm really not mad at that prediction, to be honest. Let's do a poll, though. Let's do a poll. Will today be a red or green day in markets? I think that's going to be the poll. I'm going to keep it really simple. I think that's the best question to ask here. Will today close as a red or green? Red day or green day? I don't know if I should say equities. I'm just going to say markets. But what I mean is equities, indexes, and more. All right, so vote on the poll. Poll is now live. It's slightly possible the bottom is in here. I wish I could cause this to not run so far over here. So, red, green mostly. Big green, according to Vincent here. We'll see, guys. We'll see. I don't know. And again, remember, in 45 minutes, we do have jobless claims unemployment filings. I'm finally thinking bullish, so probably the big red day, and I'll miss the sell-off. I think every trader has had it in their mind at least once. I know I personally have. I'm not afraid to admit this. I think this is honestly a pretty normal thought process. Where you're losing so much day trading. You're kind of like, hey, why don't I just do the opposite of whatever I want to do? If I want a short, let me go long. If I want a long, let me go short. If I'm losing this much, maybe I'll win now. And honestly, this strategy taught me not to take high of the day breakouts in the same way. You know, I used to attack high of the day breakouts nonstop. Every time we'd get a high of the day breakout, I'm like, oh, I'm jumping in. Part of it was like the penny stock stuff. But every time we get a high of the day breakout, I'm like, look, I'm jumping in. It's my time right now. High of day. I would just get dumped on. The selling pressure at the highs, I would just get liquidity grabbed. They would just eat my liquidity and then dump the stock. And so what that taught me is, hey, this is the top of the range. Experienced traders should take a profit up here. Let's not do this. You know, not unless we get real good confirmation and a pullback to buy into. Every trader has had that. Every trader that spent years in the market day trading has had that thought. I promise you they have. Blaze knows. It's true but hilarious. Yeah, you know. John going fuego. What does fuego mean? Flame, I think, right? Zubair says might be a sell-off. Where does oil close the week here? Oil still maintaining the war risk premium. What that means is that traders are still pricing in tensions in Iran. We saw some stabilization in equities yesterday. Green day in the market. But oil's still pretty close to the high it's been since the conflict started. So because the bots exploit your patterns? Probably true. I mean, algorithms have been around for a lot longer. Markets are finally getting exposure to them, though. Market is buying out the rumor, Graph says. Oh, it was definitely a skill issue. Of course it was a skill issue. I haven't had that thought in a long time, but I had it for sure in the first year or two I traded. But yeah, this skill issue thing's probably true, to be honest. When I had that, I thought it was a skill issue. So, hey, jobless claims unemployment, guys, 50 minutes. 40 minutes. 41 and a half minutes to be exact. I'm red on my short, so we're probably going up. I get it. Just let it ride. What's your favorite indicator? Here's a pretty good question. What's your favorite indicator and what to use with it? I have two main ones. I like using the volume weighted average price and the 200 exponential. Now, it depends on which asset, which symbol, what you're trading on it, whether you're talking about stocks, crypto, futures. But my favorite is the 200 exponential on a 1 minute chart specifically. And I know people criticize the 1 minute chart, but just to give you some perspective here, this yellow line right here is the 200 exponential. So you see this yellow line right here? I have LSU colors, purple and gold. But if you see this yellow line, this is the 200 exponential. And one of the things that you see here, look, we're maintaining over it. We hold support when we're over it. It's a trend indicator. It'll show you the trend as well as the volume weighted average price will as well. But look, we bounce when we get down to it. When we finally start to go for a red trend here, look at exactly where the pivot points are in the stock. 200 exponential, 200 exponential, down. Where do we go back up when we rebound? 200 exponential, down. Where do we go back up when we rebound? 200 exponential. Now, we tested this level and went choppy, but again, we had a clean break and then boom, 200 exponential, breakdown. And so, look, we finally broke over it here. And then where do we bounce? Boom, 200 exponential, boom, 200 exponential. And so it can be a really natural pivot point. And the volume weighted average price, you essentially trade in the same way. But what people have to understand about this is that technical strategies are all self-fulfilling. And so why does the 200 exponential work so well? Going back to the bot comment, algorithms use it in their algos. 100% they do, at least some of them. And so what that means is that you get a lot of traders playing this the same way I just showed you. So you get a lot of traders looking for it as a pivot point. They're shorting. If we're in a net downward trend and we pivot back to the 200 exponential, they're shorting it. If we're over the 200 exponential, like right here, they are using that opportunity to buy it on these dips. And they're looking for a change of trend. So we're upward trending, boom. Another strategy, you get this big breakdown. You need it to be obvious here. So let me zoom in a little bit closer. But you kind of need it to be obvious. The more obvious it is, the better. So the more obvious the break over or under this is, the better it's going to be. And so when you get a really clean move here with a volume spike, like if you look at the volume down here, I'll show you the volume. If you get a really clean move with a volume spike underneath it, like look at the volume head up here. So the volume headed up, like we got a noticeable spike in volume right here, clean break underneath it. When you get a clean trend change, a clean move that you can kind of, I always describe it as piggyback off of this move, and you get a retracement to it, easy short, easy short. Now it's also possible we just chop. If we are chopping over and under the volume weighted average price like this, or the 200 exponential, it just means we're in a sideways trend. And so it's one of those markets where unless you're going to attack a trend like this, if we're sideways chopping over and under it consistently, it's probably not time to trade trends. It's probably time to pivot to a range-based trade or just not trade at all. And so that's the way I like to trade here. But we can see this in a lot of different things. So here's the NASDAQ starting to flush back down. So I'll use the 200 exponential volume weighted average price. Yeah, all good, Freddie. I look at usually a 1 minute chart, to be honest. And again, I might get crap for that, but I think the algorithms probably play it a little bit more. I use a mix of those indicators, volume weighted average price, 200 exponential, and then I use milestone levels in the chart. Again, more examples of this. I look for isolated levels, confirmed levels, but I will use easily identifiable levels, like 25,000 I think is the one that's in most people's mind right now. Here's 25K, big psychological level. If we go back to the range we talked about earlier, you can see like a longer term range here. You can use these levels as well. The high, the all-time highs, obviously. The low here, which is about 24,000. 24,000, another whole dollar number. Thank you for that, John. Knowledge is power. Yeah, all good, brother. All good, man. Not just that, but stocks move from expansion to contraction. Exactly. It's why crypto probably has a 4-year chart as well. If everyone believes it, it works. It's all self-fulfilling. So the more people that believe we're going to get a bounce, we get a bounce a lot of the time. The more people that think we're going to crash. Now, you could also look at it on the other side of that and say the more people that think we're going to go up, you get squeezed down and vice versa. That certainly happens as well. But I like gold the most for potential long. I'm thinking red. Yeah, we'll see. A++ 5-star transfer of information. Many thanks for your expertise. Have a prosperous day. I'm definitely not an expert, but I appreciate it. Thank you. Nothing works 100% of the time, guys. Remember, I am not an investment professional. I am not liable if you lose. Always make your own assessment. Trade smart. Can't guarantee anything. Do not copy me. Understand all this stuff on screen. I can't guarantee a thing here. Not an investment professional. Top 3 worst ever and greatest ever. But don't copy me. So, do not copy me. Not an investment professional. All right, let me get my disclaimer out the way here. Is that a fake poly market in my chat here? Top 3 of all time? Hey, we try. We try, sir. I copy you. Am I 5 minutes behind on the chat? I don't think so. I agree gold is ideally better for longs. Long-term gold is probably, you know. There's absolute uncertainty in the market that buying gold won't let you down. Not financial advice. Yeah, I can respect the copy that. Yeah, I'm good on chat. All right, cool. All right, chat. 55 minutes. Jobless claims unemployment. Or, I'm sorry, 35 minutes, I should say. I'm still watching for news. So the Italian defense minister says U.S.-Israel strikes on Iran breached international law. Strikes were launched without ally warning. It's Thirsty Thursday. Yes, sir. What's your favorite asset to buy right now, guys? I know I asked this yesterday, but I'm curious. I see a lot of people mentioning gold. Gold has had a wild trend. In the last 12 months, gold is up from 2,800s all the way to 51, 52, 5400s. So. Gold, oil? Do you think oil is going to continue to go up though, Bram? SPY, Intel, Tesla? That's the question, is do you think gold's going to continue to go up? That's the problem, is that, or oil, I mean, I'm sorry, oil, I don't know, man. I think it's up so much. Essentially what we need to see oil continue rising is we need a longer outlook for the conflict. We need the conflict probably to last too long. And if the conflict gets dragged on longer, longer than expected, then that's a situation where we might see oil continue to rise. But like I said earlier, if markets are green, but there's still fear. Why is there fear? You can see oil risk premium, oil war risk premium is still there. I definitely see oil at 120. Cut rates. Buying gold at this range is wild. The Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Yeah, that's true. Long oil is more dangerous. Any good news will make it pull back quickly. Yeah, if we get news that the conflict is stabilizing more, it could pull back. But it's still elevated right now. Oil's still at 77.40s here. 78s is the highs of the last, like, what, 6 months? So $78 for West Texas Intermediate crude is the high of the last 8 months, 9 months here. So nothing looks good outside of the Mag 7. If Nvidia was at 160s, I'd buy Nvidia. Yeah, Jensen Wong spoke yesterday. We're heading into a potential GTC event in the next few weeks. So we do have the GTC event from Nvidia in the next few weeks. We'll see what happens there. Here in Houston, diesel prices went up from $2.99 to $3.89 in the last 3 days. Yeah, that makes sense. They get baked into pretty quickly here. Yep. And again, listed chat. We have 32 minutes until jobless claims unemployment release. I don't know how much these are going to move markets, but this is all heading into the labor report. Yesterday, we did get the prelim ADP data show up. We had Challenger job cuts show up 78% lower year over year, or is 72% lower essentially year over year. Yesterday, we had ADP data show up. ADP data showed up at 63,000, stronger jobs than expected. They expected about 50,000. They showed up at 63,000 for ADP's non-farm employment change data for February. And that's kind of prelim payroll numbers here. So we're heading into tomorrow. And the big report for tomorrow is the labor report. Going back to Bitcoin here, circling back. Bitcoin, guys, at 73,000. Look at Bitcoin here. Do you guys like Bitcoin over the next 12 months? Is Bitcoin a buy right now? Do you like it over the next 12 months, or is the risk too much? Yeah, Robinhood had a pretty good event. It's reacting well. Sell the news. It's a buy. Bitcoin going way higher over the next year, according to Keith. No, it's not time. Don't buy Bitcoin yet. It's going down. No. It's a bull trap. We break 74. It's definitely a buy until 84 ETH. Bitcoin's about to die for 6 months. Buy the next manipulation. Bitcoin to drop. Bitcoin 73s. What did somebody ask me to look at? They asked me to look at it earlier. Oh, Robinhood event was good last night, they said. Yeah, I heard about that. Robinhood up to 84s. Robinhood, because of Bitcoin's wild swings, Robinhood has made some wild swings as well. So you can see Bitcoin, back up to 73s. Robinhood is also up from their event yesterday, but Robinhood has contracted from 150s all the way down to 80s over the last 6 months. So, this year feels like it's going by fast. October feels like it was a couple months ago. It was 6 months ago, guys. That seems quick. Need another dump from Bitcoin. Bitcoin needs to drop down to 7,676, maybe 70K. Bright liquidation cluster could be a dip buying opportunity. Yeah, Bitcoin slipped slightly, but still over 70,000. Hit a 1 month high on Wednesday, yesterday. So again, Bitcoin hit a 1 month high. Up to almost over 74,000 yesterday. Earlier rally was helped by improved sentiment in the Middle East, support for crypto firms from the president, and inflows into US Bitcoin ETFs again. If we end red today, it's a clear slowdown trend, setting new lower highs every cycle. If these keep dropping, I'll just buy more. Bitcoin bottom will be 52,000, you say? Yeah, let's see, friends. Let's see. Again, we have jobless claims, unemployment filings going live. I'll put this data up here. I'll put a timer up as well. We do have jobless claims, though, going live today. $8:30. What is this? This is in like 26 minutes. There we go. Got my fiat ready. 49,000 Bitcoin is a blind buy. Bitcoin will go to 0. Clarity Act is going to ruin everything as it is. Okay, so we do have the UK Prime Minister Starmer giving a press conference today on the Middle East at 14 GMT. If 70% of retail traders lose money, if you're a retail trader, do the opposite of what you think equals winning strategy. If we end red today, it's a clear slowdown trend. We'll see what happens, guys. Watching the NASDAQ. Here's the SPY. SPY, again, still in a pretty tight range. 680s. Moved up yesterday. You can see the market yesterday. This was yesterday's price action. This is just the S&P 500. And so you can see yesterday's price action was green. The Dow has also kind of had a troubling couple-day period. And the Dow was basically flat yesterday after dropping all the way down to 47.6s here. 47.6s on the Dow. This is the Dow futures contract. It's now at 48.5s, but the Dow trend is concerning. Out of these three indexes or indices, which one is your favorite? Looking at our poll numbers, and what I mean by that is the S&P, the Dow, or the NASDAQ your favorite index to buy right now? Let me know. Dow, S&P, or NASDAQ? We did a poll earlier. I asked, will today close a red or green day? 54% say today's going to be a red day in markets. 46% say today is going to be a green day in markets. So I see Faye coming out here with the S&P pick. Zubair coming out here with the S&P pick as well. Adit saying NASDAQ here. Doug Muffin saying the SPY or the S&P. It's basically the SPY. The SPY is the S&P 500. S&P all day. Jonathan says NASDAQ. Chef says SPY. Graf says SPY. Yeah, so the S&P apparently the biggest one. People like that the most. Bond prices are falling. Yeah, bond prices are going down. Yields are going up. People are we had a couple Fed members speak yesterday. Let me see exactly who it was, but we did have a couple Fed members speak yesterday. Yeah, so we had Fed officials Williams and Kashkari speak yesterday. They both basically emphasized data dependence, no rush to cut, growth holding up, and inflation still above target, as well as the shocks from the overseas conflict being framed as a risk that could slow the cutting cycle rather than restart hikes. And one of the reasons is because oil is elevated, which might drive inflation, which might mean we have less justification to cut interest rates. If inflation's a problem from high oil and energy prices from this conflict, then we have less of a green light to cut interest rates. So yields are going to spike, bond prices are going to go down. And yeah, that's basically what's going on. NASDAQ, Micro E Mini. What's up, Tobias? I know definitely not the Dow. Bitcoin's higher. Gonna buy it April. Oil, Bitcoin, and the NASDAQ. The boomers will never sell the SPY. Yesterday was a rally off of bad news. Liquidity game is on. 20 minutes, guys. 20 minutes. And again, we had Broadcom sales spike 5+%. So one of the big stocks that's rallying is Broadcom here. Broadcom all the way up to 336 here, 336.20s for Broadcom. We have about 22 minutes until jobless claims unemployment goes live. Good morning, all. What's up? Ed, Stretch, Oil, Bitcoin, NASDAQ. NASDAQ, short day. All right, guys, here we go. Jobless claims unemployment report going live in about 20 minutes here, 20 minutes. Boomers will never sell. All right, guys, here we go. Bitcoin. And I think Bitcoin wants easing. So Bitcoin probably will want a lower job report today, higher jobless claims. Jobless claims today. Let me put this up on screen so we can see it. 6,800 SPX, in my opinion. Yeah, so jobless claims. Expected, I believe it's what, 212, 215 today? Let me make sure. So yeah, I'm showing jobless claims today are expected. We also have import-export data. Jobless claims expected at 215. In reality, boomers are not in indexes anymore. They are retired. That's honestly probably true. Some of them still are. I don't know. It depends on how young of a boomer they are. When we say boomer, again, I know it's kind of just a buzzword at this point, but boomer really means baby boomers, the generation that came from World War II. World War II fighters came home, and what did they do? They had been at war for years, so they had a bunch of babies, and that is the baby boomer generation. My parents were boomers, are boomers, but my parents might still have some money in indexes. Maybe not as much as they did 10 years ago, but maybe some. Yeah, they might be retired. They still have some money there, though. No TV back then? It probably was for the best, honestly. The reality of it is, one of the things that keeps people back in general is too much overstimulation. Like, dopamine detox can be good for you. Like, with restraining from things that burn your attention span and kind of hurt your creativity, I would say, is probably good to a certain extent. Because if you spend your whole time looking at all these flashy lights, it's one of the reasons like slot machines get a lot of people, because they put a bunch of flashy lights and stimulating things in front of you, and so you just keep giving them your money, basically is what it is. But Money markets are pricing in a 60% chance of an ECB rate hike by December, from around 20% late Wednesday. Italy's energy minister also said it's premature to consider the release of national gas emergency stocks. Michael Saylor says there isn't enough Bitcoin for everyone. Bergam says U.S.-Venezuela alliance shifts geopolitical center of oil. Are you freestyling? No. Y'all gotta pay more for that. SOFR rate did show up at 3.67%, a little bit lower than March 3rd. High gas prices will cause inflation numbers to explode. They'll do anything to keep the price of gas down, as they've already done by cheap oil. Oil should be $200 a barrel right now. I don't know. It depends on which oil we're talking about. West Texas Intermediate's at 77s. What is Brent? What is Brent crude? At almost 80 a barrel at 79.65 is what I'm showing right now for Brent crude. Was earlier today it was over 80. It was at 80.5. A message in there for what? Yeah, you just gotta check their site, Eli. You gotta check their site, brother. I'm not sure about regarding Apex. You're talking about the 25K account? Those numbers are historically low prices with inflation. Bitcoin started to dip. Is it really? I mean, it's down some. It just moves in waves, though. Here's Bitcoin. 72.7s. Jobless claims at 15. Well, I mean, people are going to argue Bitcoin is rare because of the finite aspect. Like, there's a finite amount of them that can ultimately be mined. And so as more and more get mined, in theory, the more valuable each individual one will be. But oh, I accidentally muted myself. My bad, guys. But yeah, one of the things that we're seeing is Jerome Powell. Guys, Jerome Powell has been much less vocal this year. Much less vocal. Generally speaking, we get what's called the semi-annual monetary policy reports of Congress twice a year. It's almost always in early February or mid-February or very, very early March. And we have not seen this scheduled yet. And this is a required thing where he has to do congressional testimony twice a year. Again, it's called the Semi-Annual Monetary Policy Report to Congress. We have not heard from Powell. My guess is it's from the subpoena. Again, my guess is it's from the subpoena. And so we haven't heard from him. Usually he does a couple speeches, the semi-annual monetary policy report, and more. We haven't really heard from him. Now, we do have the Fed meeting on the 18th of this month. And so maybe we'll get some word there. But yeah, a little crazy right now, a little bit crazy. NASDAQ getting very close to 25,000. Getting very, very close here. Very, very close. Hey, John, just broke up with my girlfriend. Most terrible feeling in the world. Trying to trade stocks to get off. Yeah, that's how it goes, bro. You'll be alright. J Powell is a top gangster. Powell is definitely concerned on the futures, on the future dates. Yeah, we just haven't seen him, man. We haven't seen him. Still, though, when has the Fed ever cut rates before the end of the third quarter into the fourth quarter? Generally, Kevin, I've seen you ask that question a couple times. Generally, it's if he does cut rates, it's usually in a more emergency situations regarding interest rate cuts. So if we do cut rates before the first half of the year, it's almost always dire situations. Like, I'm pretty sure there's a couple examples of this from 2000, 2008, 2020. And so it happens. It's just much more rare. Much more rare. Yeah, I would just chill. I wouldn't trade too much user, but do what you want to do. It's your choice. I got Max. Charles is looking a little chinny lately. Wow. I like Charles a lot. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. I like Charles a lot. I'm a mediocre blue belt in BJJ. I train a couple times a week usually. And so I want Charles to win. But Max is too good. And Max has good striking, and Charles' chin, especially after Ilya, is looking a little suspect, I think, right now. Yeah, I wouldn't trade either. Hit the gym. Trading in emotions never good. Absolutely. Be careful today. All right, guys. 12 minutes left. 12 minutes left before jobless claims unemployment comes out. Yeah, you're getting a little too trolly, bro. I think you're probably Joe, is my guess. It's hard to tell. But hey, thank you, Eli, my guy. Thank you, brother. Congrats, dude. Yeah, of course. Hey, appreciate you guys using the discount code BT if you're on Apex BT, or if you're on Lucid. Lucid Flex plans are 50% off for new users with my code. No consistency rules, no activation. The direct to funded is 30% off. And so it's pretty cheap. You can, the midpoint for the direct to funded, like if you want to immediately get funded, it's about $300 if you use my promo code BT. Honestly, not a bad deal for Lucid. Check them out. They're a sponsor. They're an affiliate of mine. I'm biased, of course, but genuinely useful. Remember, my Lucid code is BT, beginner trading BT. And my Apex code is BT as well. Thanks all for the consolation. I'll watch you, John, every morning. Appreciate your support. Hey, it's all good, brother. It happens, dude. It happens, man. At first it sucks. Give yourself a couple months. You'll be all right. Okay, so smoke is being seen rising above northern Riyadh, according to reports. I'll try not to trade emotionally. Get rich, bud, and move on. 100%. Yeah, that's the move. 10 minutes here, chat. 10 minutes. Higher or lower jobless claims. Again, they're expected at 215 today. 215. Higher or lower jobless claims, guys. Look at silver. We can take a look at it. Here's silver right there. 82s right now. 82s. Silver's wild, man. Look at this big swing earlier this morning. All the way down to 80. This thing went from 84.50s down to $80 a share. This is like over 5% move this morning, right at midnight. And then basically fill the entire gap back up, all the way back above where the dip started. And then now it's filling the gap back down to the downside at 82.50s. And so silver is swinging. Yeah, like silver swings are kind of wild here, to be honest. Gold's dropping a little. Yeah, silver and gold. Looks like they're on the way down. Look at gold just now. Gold just dumped under the previous closing price. Now technically red on the day for gold. Bitcoin's still holding over 70,000 though. But yeah, according to Reuters witness, smoke is seen rising over northern Riyadh. I'm wondering if oil is going up on this report. No, oil's actually down a little bit here as well. JP Morgan says investor behavior during wars often follows a predictable pattern. Buying of gold broadly tracked demand for oil while the US dollar strengthened as bonds weakened and yields increased. Overnight had crazy moves. Yeah, for sure, Keegan. 100% it did. Here we go, guys. Jobless claims. 7 minutes. Which prop firm? If you want to check out Lucid, guys, here's my Lucid link right here. They're the one I'm starting to like more and more. So. Again, my code is BT. Shell signs contract to explore Kazakhstan oil. I think we're on the backside of this crisis. How long do you guys think this crisis will last is a real question here. How long will this last? Jobless claims in 7 minutes. How long will this conflict last today is the question. I really don't know. I'm going to go with my guess, and maybe it's confirmation bias and wanting the conflict to not last that long. I'm going to go with 6 weeks. 6 weeks is my guess. What do you guys think? Oil's starting to spike up a little bit. Gold is dumping right now. Let me see if we can figure out why this is happening here. Gold is dumping right now. Wow. Gold is falling. Look at gold drop here. Gold down to 50.85s right now. 50.85s. The U.S. Pentagon is going to release a press conference at 4:30 today. 4:30. Yeah, I don't see any real news here justifying this drop in gold, to be honest here. We're going to wait for jobless claims. It could be the smoke scene rising over northern Riyadh. Pentagon delivering a press conference at 4:30 Eastern time today. But higher means more people filed for unemployment. So here's a good question. Which number is bad for the market, higher or lower? Interesting question. We really don't know. Higher number means more people filing for unemployment. So the higher jobless claims are essentially means the more weakness in the labor market we see. Now, going back to your original question, which is what number is worse for markets, I don't know. Market might want stabilization in jobs. That's very possible. Market might want weaker jobs to justify earlier cuts. That's possible as well. I would say market generally wants stronger jobs. And if the jobs are super weak, it's more likely that we're going to see, like, if the higher the jobless claim number shows up as, the more likely it is we see negative reactions, I think. But it's not that easy of a correlation, to be honest here. So I think it'll be lower. We'll see. Gold. I think we've seen trends that has been lower lately, so you might be right, Faye. Last minute predictions, guys. Higher or lower jobless claims? Higher or lower jobless claims? Higher or lower jobless claims, chat? Higher. I see Kirsch say higher. VWAP say lower. Higher. Low. Lower. Higher. Pretty split down the middle here. I don't really know what we're going to get. They're expected at 215,000. Last time they were 212. So this report is expected at 250,000. Let me put it in sub-only mode. So we're going to put it in sub-only mode. Subscribe. Help support your boy here in the channel here. We appreciate it. We got about 1,400 people here right now. We appreciate it. We got 3.5 minutes left. Higher but doctored, low but doctored. Very low, higher, so gold rises. Who knows? Not financial advice, of course. Volatility's picking up. All right, chat, here we go. Remember, hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. You'll catch up with the stream and make sure you're fully live. Again, hit the live button. Put it in 2x speed. Make sure you're completely live here. We have about 3 minutes left, but you want to make sure you're real time with us here on the stream. This report can move markets. It honestly genuinely depends on... It can move markets. It genuinely depends on... how much it shows up as. Like, we show up way higher than expected, markets can move. We show up way lower than expected, markets can move. But it depends on which number it shows up as. So it can, doesn't always, though, is what this report is. It can move markets. It's not always, though. I'm gonna keep gold, and I'm gonna put the NASDAQ up here. So I'm gonna keep gold, and then here's the NASDAQ, so we can get a little bit of both. Here's the NASDAQ. NASDAQ close to 25,000. I'm definitely watching this 25K number. But, it's expected to get 215. Alibaba's Quinn team reportedly stable and maintain open source and denies Quinn team mass departure. Higher. Here we go, guys. We have about 2 minutes left. 2 minutes. High sounds good. Remember, though, this is all before the big labor report tomorrow. So tomorrow at 8:30, you better be tuning in here because the labor report drops, the official labor report. These are all kind of medium-term news impacts. Tomorrow's report is a big impact news, the payroll report tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. So be here tomorrow. Unemployment data comes out. Payrolls come out. We'll see what the job market looks like according to the government here. And so here we have about a minute left. About 1 minute. About 1 minute left, guys. Non-farm payrolls, unemployment tomorrow, 8:30. Oh. Non-farm payrolls. Why if higher negative reaction? It's not necessarily true. We could get either one of them. All right, 40 seconds left. 40 seconds left. It's not necessarily true. Again, we could get either one of them. But for now... That's the higher it is, the more likely. Like, if we get really big spikes in unemployment filings, that's a situation which might cause more panic in the wake of everything going on now with Iran and the conflict and everything like that. Jobless claims expected at 215. Here we go. We have about 10 seconds left. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. Let's see what we get today, guys. We'll see what we get. And here's the report. Right now. Okay, guys, so 213, basically as expected. 213, a little bit lower than expected. 213 jobless claims versus 215 expected. They did revise the last one down to 213, but basically flat numbers here. It wasn't a crazy amount. So jobless claims, again, 213. They did revise the last one from 212 up to 213. But not crazy numbers here, to be honest. Not crazy numbers. We'll put this up on screen. Here's the jobless claims report. We can put the continuing claims up as well. Continuing claims showed up higher than expected. So continuing claims did show up higher than expected here. We'll put those numbers up on screen as well. But not terrible. Again, this is not a huge report. You can see the NASDAQ initially react to it right here. But it could have been worse. It could have been worse data. Import-export data did show up at 0.2 versus 0.3% for the import price index. Export showed up at 0.6% versus 0.3%. Non-farm productivity at 2.8% quarter over quarter, but basically flat numbers here. Non-farm productivity, again, 2.8 versus roughly 2% expected. Yeah, I mean, we initially went up, but now we're starting to come back down on this report. It's a little bit better than expected. We did see some Revio Labs NFP projections, though. So we did see some Revio Labs NFP projections. Look at these numbers here by Revio Labs. They expect non-farm payrolls to show up at negative 16.7. And let me put the main bottom chart up here. So here's the breaking news. Again, jobless claims 213 expected. There we go. That's on screen as well. Revio Labs, though, which is a private company, expects non-farm payrolls tomorrow to show up at negative 16.7 thousand jobs. And that might be what's dragging the NASDAQ down. Look at the NASDAQ drop here. Again, Revio Labs expecting negative 16.7 thousand NFP data tomorrow. And look at the NASDAQ drop here. Probably on this report. But jobless claims are out. We can take a look at the actual report here. Again, 213. We showed up at 213,000 versus expected 215 or so. Previous week's level was revised up by 1,000 to 212 from 213. Now, we did see some spikes. I believe in, let me make sure this is right. We did see some spikes in continuing claims. Continuing jobless claims showed up at 1.868 million versus 1.85 million expected. So a little bit higher continuing claims. But initial claims were lower than expected, basically flat week to week. I think the scary print that we're seeing right now that is causing some volatility, though, is the Revio Labs data we publish. You can look on the screen and look at the shared comment right here on the screen on the bottom left. Revio Labs expects NFP for February to show up at negative 16.7 thousand. It's kind of a scary print if they are correct here. Revio Labs. So yeah, jobless claims are out. We have Iran's army is targeting headquarters of U.S. forces in Iraq's Erbil with drones, according to Iranian state TV. But productivity increases 2.8% for quarter 4 2025. Unit labor costs also increased 2.8%. The consensus was only about 1.8% for quarter 4 productivity. Is Revio Labs correct? Remember, we do have U.S. Secretary of War Hegseth going to brief reporters on Iran at 4:30 p.m. today, according to the Defense Department. Barkin's about to start speaking. I think a better way to say it is Barkin's about to start barking. Yeah. I don't believe any of these numbers ever. What's their accuracy? I don't think it's that good. NASDAQ did react to this jobless claims report, though. You can kind of see we're dipping back down now. So we did get some reaction here. I said if he was accurate. How accurate was Revio Labs? I don't think it's probably that accurate. Here's 25,000 though in the NASDAQ here. So 25,000 is interesting. This will lead to a war, by the way. Accuracy plus or minus 100%. Yeah, let's take a look at Bitcoin. So NASDAQ down net from this report. Gold is kind of fighting back after dropping pretty big here, to be honest. Bitcoin's still dropping some, I would say. Here's Bitcoin. Bitcoin currently sitting at 72 threes. Does it really matter if they believe it or not? In the end, it moves markets. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. If it moves markets, it moves markets. All right, guys. So again, that's the jobless claims report. Jobless claims report. Stick around. We are going to be day trading the opening bell live, but man. NASDAQ, Bitcoin. Barkin is speaking right now, so I'm gonna put out Barkin's quotes here. Barkin says, "Do not have a sense yet of the implications of the Iran war on the economy. Businesses say their pricing power is very limited. The Fed will go meeting by meeting. If gas prices are up, that is inflationary, and the Fed will have to decide how long that lasts. Textbooks would say to look through short-term shocks. Gas prices still matter for sentiment and can crowd out other consumption." But again, he did say, "I do not have a sense yet of the implications of the war on the economy." Barkin says 2.8% productivity is still a pretty good number here. . So, barking. 2.8% productivity is still a very good number. He's still speaking right now. I believe he's on Bloomberg. He said recent inflation data does raise doubts about whether the Fed is finished in its inflation fight. So here's another quote. Maybe a little bit too long. Yeah, so recent inflation raises doubts about whether the Fed is finished in its inflation fight. Not a bad number. We can take a look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ just tapped 25,000 here, so we'll probably trade this. We'll probably trade it. What's he barking about? I'm surprised there's not more puns. Anybody still holding oil from yesterday? Oil's still pretty elevated, though. Oil hasn't really contracted a lot. Even though we had a green day in markets yesterday, oil's still very high. It's still up there a lot. So... Goldilocks is about to hit a wolf. Hey, what's up, Mama Pawn? Good morning. Yeah, I'm going to trade this. We're just kind of waiting here. First move is usually the wrong move. That's definitely possible. And barking is still a barking here. Let me... Yeah, barking is still a barking, they say. Jobless claims, again, showed up pretty much flat. 213s versus 215s expected. What's up, Raymond? Hey, good morning, friend. You want to help support the channel? Again, check out Lucid. If you look at this here. The 50K direct-to-funding option on Lucid is honestly not that bad. Like, look at this. If you use my promo code BT on Lucid Trading, end of day drawdown, it's only $364 with the coupon, which is direct to funded. You don't have to pass the test. You can get direct to funded. Max size is 4 mini contracts or 40 micros, which I think is plenty. 20% consistency rule, which is a little bit lower than others. So not bad. Again, if you want to check out Lucid, most day traders lose money, guys. Most day traders lose. You fund your own account thousands of dollars, you're probably going to lose. I'm going to do a shameless plug here because I just like teaching. I just like helping people. I'm not here for money, but listen, if you want to check them out, I'll put the link up. Great way to help support the channel. Most day traders lose. Why fund your own account thousands of dollars just to probably lose it? Honestly, it genuinely makes no sense to me. Instead, check out Lucid. Promo code BT. BT Beginner Trading. It's not BG on Lucid. It's BT. And so if you want to check them out, bro, get out of here. I'll put the link up. You can see it pinned to the top of the chat, actually. So if you look at this link pinned to the top of the chat, here it is. Great way to help support your boy here on this channel. Yeah, so let's take a look at how the 10-year reacted to this jobless claims report, as well as the Revio Labs report. So yields have spiked over the last few days on worrying inflation. We did have Kashkari and more, and Barkin's still speaking, but yields have spiked up a little bit this morning here. So yields have jumped some. Bitcoin down to 72 threes. And I'm still looking at Barkin, if Barkin's still speaking here. But yeah, Barkin says, I like the idea of the Fed having a smaller footprint in markets. Again, Barkin says, I like the idea of a Fed having smaller footprint in markets. We'll put this up in chat so you can see it. But these are some of his quotes. It says Fed policy is still modestly restrictive, but demand does remain healthy. Yeah, Lucid is a funded account program. You can go direct to funded, or you can pass their test or try to pass their test. It's just a great way. If you fail to, It just doesn't make any sense to fund your own account. So Fitch just came out speaking about the Strait of Hormuz. They estimate each week of closure of the Strait of Hormuz to reduce hydrocarbon export proceeds by 0.4% of GDP for Bahrain, Iraq, Kuwait, and Qatar, according to them. Believes Middle East sovereigns can absorb impact of Hormuz closure with current rating levels based on expected duration. But Fitch again says that they estimate each week of closure of the Strait of Hormuz is going to reduce hydrocarbon export proceeds by 0.4% of GDP for Bahrain, Iraq, Kuwait, and Qatar. NASDAQ is starting to bounce here. Where does it bounce, guys? It bounces right at 25,000. I should have bought the dip here. Kind of mad I didn't, but that's okay. You guys red or green so far today? We did a poll earlier. 56% think we're going to have a green day today. 56% again think we're going to have a green day. Watch out with Elon. He'll come out with all different stories. Red, Bitcoin bounced right at 72.5. That's a chunk, but going straight to funding could save eval fees. 100%. I think a lot of people are going to benefit from that. The way I am, like with my funded accounts, usually if I'm trying to get funded, I'm a little bit more Wild West with it. And so, but once I'm funded, I'm actually pretty risk averse. Barkin says instinctively like the idea of a smaller Fed balance sheet. So, quantitative tightening, but subject to not having adverse market reactions and being able to control interest rates. And again, he said, I like the idea of the Fed having a smaller footprint in markets. So we're going to be heading into the opening bell in about 45 minutes here. About 45 minutes. Yeah, I mean, I get that, Blaze. I think for me, though, my situation is a little bit different. Yields all the way up to 4.14% today. 4.14%. Yields have spiked on less cuts this year odds. Higher for longer odds in terms of the interest rates. Bought the $25,000 dip. Green now. Nice, Robert. I think we'll have a green day. The conflict will be over in 3 weeks. Here's gold on the left side here, chat. Gold at 51.40s. So gold has retraced some of this big dip it made. Sometimes you gotta let the sucker fly, push all the chips. Still waiting for Barkin, see if he's still speaking. Again, he said, I like the idea of the Fed having a smaller footprint in markets. When the deflationary kickback hits from AI, is going to be wild in the treasury market. I asked this question earlier. I think I'm gonna go with 6 weeks. I see some people trying to kind of one up me by saying like 7 weeks or 5 weeks. I'm not saying y'all are doing that intentionally, but you know. Again, I'm gonna go with 6 weeks. What do you guys think? How long will this conflict last? And that's gonna influence the price of oil, is how long this conflict does last. I see some people talking years though. I hope not. I hope you're wrong. I genuinely hope you're wrong. Six weeks in 1 day? 6 weeks in 1 hour, in my opinion. 6 months. 6 weeks in 1 day. Try 6 months. Are you serious? Not really, man. I'm mostly just kind of messing with the chat. Anytime I make a prediction, you got some people in the chat that try to go right around what I pick, and I can respect it. Around 12 borrowers expected to sell high-grade bonds on Thursday, according to Bloomberg. Chicago Fed unemployment rate forecast came in at 4.27%. Previous was 4.28% in January, reported by the BLS. So again, the Chicago Fed unemployment rate forecast showed up at 4.27. Previously is 4.28, so a little bit lower than expected. We also have Iran's army targeting headquarters of U.S. forces in Erbil with drones, according to state TV there. How will tomorrow's... Here's a big question. Because after we had jobless claims, we had challenger job cuts. Both of those showed some easing in fears on the labor market. Heading into tomorrow, we got the big NFP payroll report tomorrow. The big non-farm payroll unemployment report drops tomorrow at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Y'all better be ready. What do you guys think we get for that, though, is the question. Do we show up higher or lower than expected for the payroll report? Higher or lower for that payroll report? Let me know what you guys think. Do you remember Saddam? Who's Saddam, bro? No, I'm just joking. Of course I do. How dare they doubt the Oracle? Low, higher, lower, higher. I'm seeing a lot of back and forth here. Luke says lower. Philip says lower. Joe says higher. I'm full porting NFP data either direction. Dude, I recognize that star that you have on there. I can't remember where I've seen that star before, dude. I know that star. It's a video game star of some sort, I think. Can't remember what game it comes from, though, but I know that star. Maybe not. I don't freaking know. You don't trade pre-market? I heard you upset earlier about that bottom. Oh, it's a Pokemon star. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. All right. Or Smash? Is it Smash? Yeah, Poke. I knew I've seen that star before somewhere. I didn't know where, though. A lot of uncertainty in the chat. I think both higher and lower simultaneously. It's Smash Pokemon character. Okay, gotcha. All right, guys, we're gonna get ready to trade here. Let me pull up Quant Tower. Hopefully my computer can handle it, right? Bitcoin found its bottom. Did it really? Here's Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin 72.6s. It went as low as 72.2s here. So Bitcoin just bounced. Here's 72.2s down here. Just bounced directly off of it. We'll see if it holds. I'm still looking at Barkin. I don't think Barkin's still speaking, but let me make sure. Brent crude, last time I saw it was up to $80 plus here. Yeah, Iran is not a small country. It's really not. What does the US have? 300 to 400 million? And so Iran being at 90 million is not small. You know, and the US is huge. So UK population, just to put it into perspective, as of 24 was just under 70 million. So 90 million is not small. Barkin did say 2.8% productivity is still a pretty good number via Bloomberg TV. do me a favor, guys, hit the like button on the stream. We try to cover everything going on in markets, geopolitics, economics, stocks, futures, crypto. You can watch it all here. And we do it all for free. We don't sell a course, don't sell a service, don't even claim to be good traders. We just kind of give everything to everybody for free. And so if you appreciate that, again, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll get an alert anytime we go live. You can hit the like button. Great way to help support the channel. You can follow me on x.com at beginner trades. At beginner trades on x.com. Follow your boy here. We appreciate it. Is it recession concerns a reason to cut rates? After a certain point, yes. So the Federal Reserve, guys, just if you don't understand this, the Federal Reserve has a job to protect both sides of its dual mandate. The dual mandate, the two things they have to protect, one end is recession and labor and economic worries. So if the economy gets too weak, and we're seeing trends and signs of a weak economy, weak labor, high unemployment, weak jobs, weak economy, then they can stimulate the economy through interest rate cuts. They can bring interest rates down. This can cause businesses to expand and hire more people with cheaper access to leverage. People generally spend more lower interest rates because they have cheaper access to money and all these different things. And that can cause rebounds in the economy after a certain point. If it's the other end of the dual mandate, the other side is inflation. So they have to protect labor, economics, on one end, and then inflation on the other end. If inflation's a risk, they will raise interest rates. And they raise interest rates for the same reason, to push the economy down a little bit, to slow spending down. If it's a really desperate thing on the economic and labor market side, like if the labor market and the economy is looking incredibly weak, to where it looks like we might be trending towards a recession, they can do more desperate things like quantitative easing, which is basically them just creating online money printing, where they create online money and then they use that to expand their balance sheet. They buy up bonds, they buy up MBSs. This injects liquidity into those markets, helps bring interest rates down faster, but ultimately can cause worse inflation. Much more profound, inflation causing than just basic rate cuts, especially like 25 basis point rate cuts. And on the other end of that is quantitative tightening, where they reduce their balance sheet. They don't sell off their balance sheet. They just let what they have mature and expire, basically, and run off it that way. It's called passive quantitative tightening. But so basically, they have two different sides they have to protect on that end. And really, a lot of people right now are going to say we are in both risks. We have risky labor data over the last year. I would say the labor data has looked a little spicy on the downside. And I also think that we've seen inflation worries. The last PPI report that we got on Friday was higher than expected by a noticeable margin. And so a lot of people right now are going to say we're in what's called stagflation, which is a stagnant economy and high inflation situation that can sometimes precede a recession. We'll see. We'll see, guys. What's the bigger fear right now, inflation or recession? Honestly, it's kind of a cheap answer, but I think both. I think both right now. You do a great job here. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, sir. A lot of people are going to agree with me. Both. False data. Both. Inflation first, then comes a recession. Yeah, we'll see, guys. We'll see. Inflation peaked in 2022. Yeah, inflation peaked 2022 specifically because it because of what happened in 2020. 2020 shut down things. Stimulus checks also didn't help inflation for sure. There's a lot of stuff that happened in 2020. We brought rates down to almost zero. We did quantitative easing, money printing. So we printed a bunch. We brought rates down. We sent out stimulus checks, and people criticize this because we saw a lot of inflation for years following it. But if we didn't do those things, people would complain about that too. They'd say, oh, we're not doing enough. We're not doing enough. So I give them a little bit of credit, but it's kind of a sketchy market right now. Didn't we have 10 inflation a few years ago? It wasn't quite 10. It got up to, you're talking about CPI inflation. It got up to about 9.1 if my memory serves me correctly for CPI. So if we take a look at a CPI inflation graph, it got up to about 9.1, I think, in 2022. And I always tell people, it got up to 9.1, yeah, in 2022. I always tell people inflation doesn't go down, it slows down. So we're not going to have lower prices, not really, unless we go into a recession. NASDAQ right back down to 25,000 here. Well, at a certain point, going back to the original question, at a certain point, the labor market, and this is something that even Jerome Powell said a couple months ago, is that at a certain point, the labor market becomes the priority. And I've explained why, because after a certain point, if you don't stimulate the labor market and save us from a recession, then we go into a recession, and then what do we have to do once we're in a recession? Quantitative easing, money printing. We got to super ease to get us out of it, and that can cause even worse inflation than, you know, the protective easing might have cost. NASDAQ still breaking down, though. We're under 25,000 here. We're under 25K. NASDAQ starting to fall here. Starmer is doing his press conference on the situation in the Middle East. Yeah, I don't know, Jay. I don't know about any of that. I don't know if any of that stuff's going to happen. Yeah, take a second. And hit the like button, guys. We appreciate it. Thanks so much. Subscribe as well. We cover this stuff live every day. All they know how to do is print and print more. Yeah, we just broke down under 25K here. We bounced originally there. I never liked the retest in terms of a hold. I always like to wait and maybe see a breakdown here, but we're going to give it a second. Yeah, Jerome Powell's going to step down in May. And then Warsh steps in. So we'll see what that looks like. Bitcoin's still dropping here. Look at Bitcoin. Yeah, here's Bitcoin right here. Bitcoin at 72.5s again. The VWAP is on the chart on screen, I think. Maybe not on the NASDAQ here. Yeah, I'll put the VWAP up on the NASDAQ. Yeah, VWAP's way up here. 200 exponential's way up here as well. Volume, previous closing prices up there as well on the NASDAQ. We're getting ready to trade. Bitcoin looking better. Well, it's looking better the last few days for sure. It's up a lot. All right, so we're back over 25,000 on the NASDAQ. We're getting kind of close here, though. I think a spike up to at least your volume weighted average price. I'm kind of waiting for something like that here. But like I said, we will see. We'll see. Stimulus notched up cost of goods that will never return to lower prices. Yeah, I mean, again, inflation doesn't usually go down. It usually slows down. And we've seen slowdowns in inflation. So we have seen it. But here's the last 25 years. The only time we've actually seen a decrease in prices net in CPI inflation was 2008 financial crisis. We got a little bit of one here in 2015, but it didn't last long. And then here's 2020 inflation causing that we talked about earlier, up to 9.1%. And then since then, we did a bunch of rate hikes. I think we raised like 500 basis points and, you know, got really restrictive in the Fed, and then inflation started to slow back down. It's kind of trickled down to where we are now. But it's still, like, prices are still up net year to year. They're just not up as much as they were in 2022 in terms of the rise of inflation. All right, let's trade a little bit here today, guys. Wait, what happened? Okay, that one's connected. There we go, cool. Here's the NASDAQ here. 200 exponentials way up there at 2567s though. I am watching 25,000 here. 25K is right here. Bank of America reinstated buy ratings on 3 auto companies. Wolf Research says Donald Trump administration has a few policy options to curb rising energy prices tied to tensions. One proposal was a government-backed maritime insurance program to encourage oil tanker traffic through the strait using the authority of the U.S. International Development Finance Corporation. Other steps include releasing oil from U.S. strategic petroleum reserves, adjusting biofuel rules, or a temporary gas tax holiday that would require Congress. Qatar did announce they intercepted 4 drones from Iran. I'm no longer with them anymore, Jay. Contract ended, but they're also getting into more regulated stuff, so, you know. No bad things to say about them. What's up, Sam? Yeah, we're still testing this 25,000 level here, so we are watching this 25K level. So demand from Alibaba and other giants boosts China's homegrown memory suppliers, according to the information. How's my trades and you mean stocks, I'm assuming? I'm slightly red today. It's kind of an assortment of a lot of my positions here, except for treasury bills. Apple, Amazon, Disney, all slightly red, but it's not a huge amount. And honestly, we've had a pretty good run. We bought Amazon at 190s. It's at 215s. It had crazy runs the last few days, so we're very green over the last couple for sure. Hey, nice, Sam. Glad you're back, bro. John, what are we doing with Nike? What are you saying we for, brother? Like, come on now, dude. I don't even know what Nike is, bro. I'm definitely not telling you to buy it. But if we look at Nike here. All right, you tell me into it. I'm in Nike right now. Average price in Nike here. I'm going to put it on the right side. My average price in Nike. Now that you say it, I'm kind of flat in Nike. It kind of retraced back. I'll probably stay in Nike, though. Unless y'all think another big brand's going to come around and replace Nike, which I think is low probability short term. I'm just going to sit in it. The PE ratio, I don't think it's terrible for Nike either. 34, so yeah, it's not bad. I don't know if I'm going to buy more, but... I think there's a lot of, Nike tariffs are impacting them is what it is. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll probably just stay in it though. All right, so we are going to be day trading the opening bell in about 25 minutes or so. We did have the Zillow board of directors now authorizing a 1.25 billion share repurchase. Already green for the day. If you ain't first, you're last. Dude, Bruce, when you train jiu-jitsu, do your traps hurt, bro? My traps. Top 3 weakest traps ever right now, dude. They hurt, man. I thought it was my back or my neck, but it's my traps. You know? I trained a little bit more the last few weeks than I have been in the last few months for my knee. Dude, Traps freaking hurt. Top 3 wimpiest traps ever right here, guys. NASDAQ under 25,000. It does not look like it's holding either. I might short this. Let's try. What are we in? The micro NASDAQ? What do I want to do here? I don't know. It's kind of late in the downward trend here for the NASDAQ, huh? So UK's Prime Minister Starmer says the UK will not join strikes on Iran. So buying its own share. VIX is bouncing. Is it? VIX bouncing is... VIX bouncing just means market's falling right now. Yeah, the report came out. You can see the report. It came out at 213 versus 215 expected. Starmer speaking right now says UK will not join strikes on Iran. That just dropped. We're still watching to see kind of what they're saying here, but Bank of America says oil spiking is the real risk for the U.S. economy. The VIX be VIXing. All right, NASDAQ's starting to creep up. I kind of wanted to short this move. How much time we have left? I think I'm just going to wait, though. I'm trying to be careful here. Hey, thank you, Wolf. Whoa, 20,000 something. What is this? Like, every time I see this, I'm like, ooh, you know. I'm like, 20,000, and then I look at it, and it's like 30 cents. Don't make me use Google, guys. How much is 20,000, whatever that is? I appreciate it regardless. I'm just joking. I'm just messing with you. But I appreciate it. Yeah, so we already went over that pawn. He said basically the two options were... Let me see if I can find it. Texas Instruments and NVIDIA are collaborating. Hold on, let me find it. Yeah, so one of them is government-backed maritime insurance to encourage oil tanker traffic through the strait using the authority of the U.S. International Development Finance Corp. Other steps include maybe releasing oil from the strategic reserve in the U.S., adjusting biofuel rules or gas tax holiday, temporary gasoline tax holidays. That would require Congress, though. But yeah, Texas Instruments teamed up with NVIDIA to speed the transition of humanoid robots from simulation to real-world development. Yeah, I'm trying to post this. I don't know how much this is. But yeah, thank you, Wolves. I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you, sir. Okay, I figured it out. It's $14. Thanks so much. $14. That's actually a pretty big donation. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Hey, what's up, Freddie? NASDAQ's getting a little boring here, though. We're not really doing anything. Here's 25,000. I will try to short a couple small contracts here. Wait, are we in? Hold on. Hold on, let me see. I might be in the wrong account. Okay, I am in the wrong account. Switch it. There's gold. Gold's back up to 51.30s. Oil's starting to move back up at 77.5s here, though, when maybe some renewed tension worries. Iran's Aragashi denies any projectile fired towards Azerbaijan. Starmer says sending 4 additional Typhoon jets to Qatar. They also said helicopters with anti-drone capacity are in Cyprus tomorrow. All right, chat. Hmm. Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting here. Oil is spiking. NASDAQ is up. Over the last few days, but down today. 25K still holding. John, you asked for our favorite assets to buy. What are yours? Honestly, right now, equities. I think there's some equities that are enticing. It depends on which time frame we're talking about. Gold, long term, I do like a lot. Oil, oil. If we get worse conflict news, of course, oil maybe, but equities. I think depends on which equities. So not all of them are good right now, but some of them might be for medium to long term. So, Apple. I don't hate Apple. Apple just debuted their cheapest computer as well. So, yeah, it looks scary, Jay. That does look scary. I'm in SoFi already. Do next stretches. Big note to oil for me. Gold is better. Yeah, gold is better for sure. In terms of risk, but. $90 gas. I'm already in SoFi, to be honest. So I've been in SoFi. Oil's still spiking up right now, though. Look at this oil jump. So Starmer says Iran conflict could continue for some time. This is making oil jump. So Starmer, again, saying the conflict could last longer. We'll see. NASDAQ still under 25K. Yeah, I'm looking here, guys. I'm looking. Okay, the first one should be good. This one right here. I better make sure I'm not in some positions right now. Hold on. Okay, we have 15 minutes left. 15 minutes left. Yeah, I'm trying to get Quant Tower to let me switch between accounts. Silver's a tough trade, 15 minutes. What are you guys trading at the opening bell? Let me know. We can look at Nvidia. Nvidia is ahead of GTC. And Nvidia's down. I think some people could speculate that maybe we'll see some rebounds in Nvidia leading into GTC. Do you guys think GTC will have a positive or negative influence on Nvidia, though? Again, GTC coming out. Positive or negative influence on Nvidia here, guys? What do you guys think? That's the big question. Good for low 16s. I prefer housing. Palantir, yeah, Palantir up on defense names or in defense news. You know, bigger conflict news is going to make Palantir go up because they use it with conflicts and defense. That's contracts and stuff. So, or is it GTC? Yeah, it's GTC. NVIDIA's GTC 2026 is between March 16th and the 19th in San Jose. It's where they debut products, services, give outlook, and what their business is doing potentially. So GTC is NVIDIA's big conference for AI and tech and hardware and everything. It's going to debut products and stuff there. So that's the big thing. I'm still kind of mad. I really wanted to it won't let me switch accounts on Quant Tower, dude. I'm trying to get my day trading account up. I'll have to figure it out at the opening bell, but before the opening bell. How do I switch settings off here? So here's NVIDIA. NVIDIA down to 181.40. I gotta get used to Quant Tower again. I haven't used it in a minute. NASDAQ still down. Yeah, Bitcoin's in a tight range. NVIDIA breaking down. This might drag the NASDAQ down with us. So if we look at it, NASDAQ coming back down under 25,000 here. Starting to drop. It's been dropping really since 7:30 this morning. So I think most of the time GTC is a buy the rumor, sell the news event. I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. But if I remember correctly, GTC could be a buy the rumor, sell the news event where we go up in anticipation of it and then during it we actually drop. Is that correct? I know Tesla's a big name as well right now. Tesla back over 400s here, was under 400s, but look at the NASDAQ dip. Still falling. Under 25,000. I don't know if it's big, but the NASDAQ under 25K. And again, I think 25,000 is a big psychological level. NASDAQ starting to rebound back up a little bit. All right, we're at 24,975s. Tesla still at 402s. NVIDIA at 181s. All right, we're back up some here. Okay, I finally got it to freaking work here. I had to take a small position, but I guess I'm going to short this, although I don't really, like, I just wanted to see if this would work here, to be honest. So, it took a little while to figure it out, but let me pull this back down. Had to double click it is what it was, which is kind of a pain. There we go. All right, so we are in a short here. We're down $2 on the NASDAQ. I wish I would have gotten in early. I might cut this. I'm going to be looking for opening range breakouts at the opening bell again, just because I think orbs have treated me really well lately. But I'll let this roll. We're kind of shorting into resistance, seeing if we break down. If I look at TradingView, I showed people this earlier. If you use any of my links over 10 times, I'll send you this orb script. But if I look at, into this here, let me just cut this. I'm just going to get out and wait. It's not really a trade I wanted to get in. I just couldn't figure out Quant Tower. But I did build this orb script. And if you use if you buy 10 accounts and either take profit BG or Apex. Apex has an 85% off sale right now. They got rid of their trailing drawdown legacy accounts, and you can now pick between trailing drawdown or end of day drawdown. Bunch of accounts, super cheap accounts in Apex as well. It's like what, like $30 for the base one, $27 or so for the base one. But what I'm going to be looking for today, and I'll put that link up as well, but what I'll be looking for today is opening range breakouts. Because this is something that is done really well here. I like a 10-minute orb. It doesn't trigger every day, but I like the 10-minute opening range breakout. I think that's what I have this one set to here. I think it's 15. I like the 10. I put a 5-minute chart up. You can see yesterday we kind of got one here. We got one here. We put the breakdown. This one worked. Yesterday it didn't really trigger, but this one worked. This one worked. This one worked. This one worked. So the opening range breakout, it doesn't work every day. You have to wait for it to be patient. This one maybe didn't work. That's only one though. This one worked. So you had to be patient. This one worked too. If you look at it, so did that one. But that's what I'm going to be looking for. 10-minute opening range breakout today, guys. If you want to check out Apex, like I said, Apex has really cheap accounts right now. Promo code BT on Apex, BT. Here's the link. You can check it out. Cheapest accounts in the game, I think. I think they're doing 85 right now if you use my promo code BG or BT. I could have stayed in that short, but that's all right. We got the opening bell at 6 minutes, guys. 6 minutes. 5 minutes now, actually. Red or green so far today, chat? What's up, Fernando? Life goals. I asked this earlier. What's your favorite index right now? Everybody hated the Dow. And I guess for good reason, because the Dow has had a tough time. Dow all the way down to 48,400s here. So the Dow has had a really tough time. But everybody hated the Dow. I think the winner earlier when I asked people what their favorite index was the S&P 500. Everybody loves the S&P, I guess. So green, red. JC says red. Sorry to hear. Red's never good. NASDAQ. Yeah, regarding the S&P being it's more stable. It's always the S&P. I like the NASDAQ. Green, Thug Muffin. We went from BG Baby Gangster to BT Baby Turtle. I think I am a baby turtle, actually. You know. I'm beating rabbits all day. I'm a turtle, I guess. NASDAQ is more exciting. Yeah, day trading the NASDAQ, I think, is better. But, all right, guys, here we go. Sitting pretty. NASDAQ just to leverage S&P. Well, more tech in the NASDAQ. We're hitting that 25 level again, though. Here's the NASDAQ. Speaking of NQ. We are hitting that level now. The 25,000. Rejecting right off of 25K. My main Dow moves more, but the S&P and S&P tick value and futures is higher, however. Well, the NASDAQ has much larger range, is what it is. So, like, if you're day trading futures, NASDAQ has a much larger range. Does the daily look like we're going to reject, break down? Daily and what? All right, here we go, guys. Opening bell's coming soon. I'm going to wait. We also have this range right here that I think we should pay attention to in the NQ. So we do have this range here. Let's see if it holds. That's the range I'm going to be watching. 1 minute left, chat. 1 minute left. Hit the live button next to the play button. Put it in 2x speed. We appreciate it. But yeah, Starmer says risk of escalation is a concern for everyone. Look at the large bearish harmonic. Good luck, guys. Yeah, we'll see what we get. 45 seconds here. Chat, 45 seconds. I hope we get good stuff today, man. I really do. I hope we get good stuff. I don't know if we're going to, but I hope we do. Again, remember, we have the payroll report tomorrow. And so markets could be a little uneasy ahead of that. It just depends on what kind of stuff we get going on in the Middle East. But here we go, guys. We get the opening bell coming in about 10 seconds. Opening bell is here in about 10. We have NVIDIA up on the left. We have the NASDAQ chart on the right. We are going to trade, but I'm going to wait for the opening range to break. NVIDIA down to 181s ahead of the bell. There's the bell right now. There's the bell. NASDAQ up to 2520s at the opening bell. 2520s at the opening bell. Still moving up here. 2530. NVIDIA moving down. We're going to let things settle. I'm looking for the opening range. Orb. 10-minute orb is what I'm looking for. But we will see. But I'm looking for the 10-minute opening range breakout. Also at the opening bell, just to put this into perspective here in terms of what other large cap stocks are doing. Google, Alphabet breaking down some. Meta is up a little bit. So Meta's actually rebounded at 660s. Microsoft up a little bit at 407. Amazon is up a little bit at 217.50 right now. So a lot of mega cap stocks are running some at the opening bell. Not all of them, but some of them. Netflix is up to over $100 a share right now. Over $100 a share for Netflix. But mostly green so far. NVIDIA is flat though, so I think NVIDIA is one of the ones you want to watch today as well. Hey, later, T. Bitcoin. I'm still waiting for this orb to show up though. So we're in the first. I gotta wait at least a couple minutes to trade this. I can't really trade yet. I gotta wait. Do any of you guys trade the open directly here? NASDAQ up to 25. Look, here's the 200 exponential though. If I could trade, I might, but I can't. I can't trade this yet. So I just can't trade this yet. We have to wait. We're over the 200 exponential though on the NASDAQ here. I have to wait 5 minutes. I do only on evals? Okay, yeah. I mean, I get evals, but... Never, I always wait a bit. I think that's probably the right move. Let me make this timer a little bit smaller here. I think that's probably the right move. But it depends on what you're trading. Green action so far at the opening bell, though. Nvidia is at the VWAP here. Alphabet's down, though. Is there news on an OpenAI partnership? I'm checking breaking news here. A lot of strikes still happening. Where's oil at this morning? Is oil down from this? Yeah, so oil's contracting a little bit, but it did break highs right before the opening bell about 10 minutes ago for oil. Probably because of the news we're getting here about strikes, to be honest. Yeah, I'm waiting here. I'm not trading this. Oh, yeah, I love Amazon right now. I mean, I'm in it. I bought it at 190s. It's at 200 plus, like 215s, 220s. So, yeah, I like Amazon. I like Amazon enough that I'll probably sit on it longer term, though. Hi, Mom. I have a crazy good track record, but also I've gotten beat up. Yeah, yeah. NASDAQ still pushing here over the volume weighted average price, almost to 25,100. I am watching 25 ones. How much time are we in? We are about 4 minutes into the day. So we got to sit tight for a little while and trade. I have to sit tight for a little while. I'm on the NASDAQ. Yeah, I'll trade the NASDAQ as well, is what it is. We'll get ready. I have to watch everything else, but we got some good trends here. I'm still waiting for the orb, but we have some okay trends. We're trading on Quant Tower right now, by the way. If anybody wants to know the platform we're using, is Quant Tower. Bitcoin is pretty sideways, to be honest. Slightly green, I think, since the opening bell. If we get a dip down to 2050, I will take that position, but I'd prefer an orb here. Still waiting. And you can see I'm looking at the QQQ with my orb thing just because I have to look at something that has market hours here. Here's the start of one. Honestly, we haven't had a red candle in the NASDAQ here. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 green candles in a row on the NASDAQ. 9 green candles in a row here. Amazon laid off more and replacing an insane amount of people with AI, which is good. Bitcoin's confused. I admire Amazon as a company. Hey, later, Tiny. Have a good day. Yeah, I can't just buy into this. We're up too much. We've had too many green candles in a row for me to be interested in buying this. I am still looking at the orb, though. We are about 7 minutes into the day, guys, so I'm just waiting. Still pushing here, 25 ones. Maybe you could argue a short scalp or something like that. But yeah, Amazon at 219s. Yeah, we're pretty green on the day now since the opening bell. PayPal helping us out, Snapchat helping us out, Oracle helping us out, Disney, Amazon helping us out, Netflix helping us out, Microsoft helping us out. So very green moves in equities today. All right, we're over 25 ones, or we're back under 25 ones. I mean, we get a dip down to 25 fives. I'll buy this. I'm also looking at the orb still, but we need a couple minutes before the opening range settles, and then we'd rather a retracement back down to it as well. This is just too steep of a move here for me to really jump and be a part of here, guys. I gotta kind of just wait. The dollar's climbing. Yeah, here's oil. Oil's kind of dipping. Look at the NASDAQ. This is mostly driven by Amazon, 220s. Apple's actually down a little bit. Meta, Microsoft, Netflix, I think. So it's nice because all the stocks I bought are up today. I bought Netflix, I bought Microsoft, I bought Amazon. Now, I'm not jumping in anything yet. I have to just wait. Sorry, guys. I got to be disciplined here. We got a dip here, though. I need a dip down to 25.5 here, though, or at least 25.6, 25.60 is what I'm looking at. So I'm looking at right here, maybe. But I have to wait for it. One of the things I might do, though, is get one of these Lucid direct accounts. I'm liking Lucid more and more. Excuse me. Because look at these options. End of day drawdown. 60% of peak end of day balance. On the scale, consistency rule, C rule 20%. It's a direct to funding option, about $364 with coupon. If you use my coupon code BT with Lucid. So I might get one of those in the next few days. Versus just the challenges. Adobe? Is Adobe pushing up? Oh no, guys. We dropped down to almost 60. We didn't drop down long enough for me to capitalize on it. But oh no. Oh no. Did I miss it? Did I miss it? Do we have the opening range yet? We do. Okay, so the opening range is here. Here's the current opening range. On the 10-minute chart. Yeah, if you want to check out Lucid, again, here's the link. You can see it pinned at the top of the chat. Here's a dip. I think I gotta take it. I gotta take it here. It's just close. It's micro positions here, so we're gonna take a couple contracts. We're gonna take 3 and then leave it at that for now. And see what happens. Give this a chance to bounce at the 200 exponential here. Got a little bit of one. I believe we can bounce here. And we have bounced. Okay, we're gonna take that off. Take that off. Leave 1 or so and try to let the bounce work here. Give it some time. Okay. I'm gonna cut it right here and get out. I just was looking for a quick little scalp there. I'm still waiting for the orb to show up. But not bad, we'll take it. Maybe I could have held it longer. But, yeah. Yeah. We're talking about the funded account program, Lucid. Most day traders lose, guys. Fund your own account, you're probably going to lose. Let's just be honest. I'm biased. I get paid, by them, so I'm biased. But most day traders lose. And I really like Lucid's direct to funding option as well. I think you get like 30% off the direct, 50% off the regular. It's about $364 for the 50K account direct to funding. I think that makes sense. But again, I'm biased. I get paid by them. But I think it's genuinely useful. Most day traders lose money. So, ITF says Hormuz to be designated a warlike operation area, according to the ITF. They disabled 300 ballistic missile launchers, though. So, should I have held that position a little bit longer here, guys? And girls. Should I have held that position longer? I think you could probably argue it. But easy 200 exponential dip. We talked about the 200 EMA earlier. Somebody kept asking... could have held a little bit longer. I think so as well. Lou. I think I could have held longer probably. It's alright. Is Adobe breaking out? Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, getting out in profit's fine, but it's okay. It depends on what I'm doing. Who said that? Do you ever let positions run with stops? Yeah, I do. It depends on the plan, though. That was a scalping plan. I thought we'd probably get an initial bounce, and then I cut it because I don't want to be involved with it after that. I'm looking for an orb, mostly now. So my strategy is going to pivot to an orb, and here's the range that I have at the opening bell for the orb, if you look at it. I'm looking at the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ price action. It's an ETF on the NASDAQ price action. Here's the range. Right top of the range, bottom of the range. We're going to look for that break and then a retest for the orb is what I'm now looking for. So we did just bounce off of the 200 exponential. We do have 25,000 underneath us as well, but we're still sitting tight waiting. We're back down to the 200 EMA. I could buy this. I'm gonna look for the orb breakout or breakdown. It's the opening range breakout. So it's basically where you identify an opening range. Here's 830. This is basically, sorry, it might be a badly drawn candle, but this is basically the opening range that I'm looking at here. And so what I'm looking for, and if I put a 5-minute chart up, it'll probably look a little cleaner here. So here's a 5-minute chart. The range I'm basically looking for now is here. This is the opening range that I'm looking for now. And so we get a break underneath this range and then a rebound up to retest it here at 25. I will short that. If we get a move over this range and then a pullback to like 100 here, I will long that. So that is my two plans and pivot points right there, if that makes sense. That's what I'm looking at right now. You guys bull or bear? Or you guys red or green since the opening bell? Red or green? Where will Bitcoin find support? I don't know, brother. I don't know, man. I would have held and got stopped out for a loss. Yeah, I got out in time. I got out just in time. So that's why I scalped that move. Okay, so the president just tweeted here, guys. So the president just tweeted. Let's see what he said. The president says, quote, hold on, ads. He says, quote, the Republicans must do with passion and at the expense of everything else, the Save America Act and not the watered down version. This is a country defining fight for the soul of our nation, end quote, U.S. president. So I wanted to cover that. Green, nicely green, green. Most people are green, which is good. Yeah, green is good, guys. Green is good. We're back over the 200 exponential, though, and it looks like we're trying to come back here. So we'll give it a second. Q is forming a descending triangle. I don't know. We're kind of looking like one of the things I always see here. Here's the 200 exponential on a 1 minute chart. All right, so I always call it the VWAP or the 200 exponential rebound here. And what I mean by that is sometimes we move up, we start to dip below the 200 exponential, and then we immediately rebound back up and retest it, and then I buy on the rebound. Like once we rip back over the 200 exponential, I buy that. Maybe I should have in this instance, but I'm waiting for the orb more so here. But it's not a bad strategy. I've used it a lot in the past. Not an investment professional. Nothing here is financial advice, but I used it a lot in the past. We're starting to push up pretty heavily though here. We are starting to head back up, testing the high of the open. We're over 25 ones here though. So again, I need a break of this and then a pull back to 25 ones. Maybe 25.75 here is what I'd look for. We're kind of consolidating now at the top of the range here though. See if we keep pushing. Again, here's the orb setup that we're looking at. All right, so we're up to 610.5s here, 610.5s. As long as you just risk management, you win. Buyers looking super strong. Yeah, we're starting to test the top of that opening range here. You can see it on my chart. Alright, so we broke the top, but it might be a fake out. I have to wait here before I take anything. Netflix is kind of retraced back down, though. Amazon's still up there. Microsoft's still pumping up to 410s as well here, though. And if we stay here long enough, we could form a... Oh, we have the 5-minute opening range still. Or the 15-minute opening range now. I gotta wait for this, though. I use OBS mostly. Yeah, mostly in OBS. Dump time. 71.3 is a good rebound zone for Bitcoin. Lower highs on the E-mini. ES is looking a lot weaker. Nasdaq's still at the top of the range here, though. Top of the range. The question is, do these mega cap stocks start to slow down? Microsoft's starting to slow down a little bit at 409s. Adobe's still strong. Amazon's still pretty strong, though. Still testing this top, though. Oil price is over 78 a barrel here. Look at oil. It was over 78 a barrel for West Texas Intermediate. Nasdaq's almost green on the day, though. Here's the previous closing price at 137 here. So the Nasdaq is almost green. Almost green. I will look for 25 ones now for a dip here. Nasdaq now technically green on the day for a split second. Oil coming back down some here. Oil officially hit its highest level since January of last year. Circle still going. Alright, so we will look for a 100 pullback here if we get one. I will look for like a 100 dip. I need 100s, which is right here. We need a dip. I'm looking for a pullback to right here. If I'm gonna buy this dip. I have to wait for this though. Yeah, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button here, guys. We do this live every day. The dollar index. Yeah, I'm looking at the Dixie right now. I wouldn't say it's dropping. It's pretty green on the day. It's at 99s. So dollar index has been pushing here, really. Oh my gosh, I looked down for a second, and where does the NASDAQ go, guys? Ugh. It happened so quick, I probably wouldn't have been able to capitalize on it anyway. But you don't love to see this. You don't love to see it sometimes. It's alright. I'm gonna go cry in the corner now. How could you let me miss this, Chad? I blame you guys. I think it's y'all's fault, right? It's definitely not my fault. I'll still look for a test of it here, but I gotta wait. I like to manually enter my buys, just so I don't, you know. Because price action can change and fluctuate, so I don't want to get stuck in like a big breakdown. If that makes sense, I'd rather manually enter, make sure we look good first. Okay, so according to the Nikkei, they say production of fewer vehicles headed for Middle Eastern markets in response to logistical concerns stemming from US-led war against Iran. The Bahrain says siren has been sounded. So yeah, Toyota's going to cut output by nearly 40,000 for Mideast bound vehicles, according to the Nikkei. Yeah, I know whose fault it is, chat. I know whose fault it is. It's his fault up there, guys. Look. It ain't my fault. It is. It's his fault right there. You see him? The guy on the bottom. The bear right there. I blame him. You know? I blame him. It's definitely not my fault. The guy on the top, he's great. The guy on the bottom, sketchy. Sketchy. Yeah, it's alright. I'll still wait. Still looking at news releasing here. India seeks U.S. Marine cover for Middle Eastern energy cargoes. Brent knows here. Steve. That's right. You know his name. And you know his game over there. Yeah, I'm just kind of sitting here waiting. Like I said, chat, we do have payrolls tomorrow. It's going to be the big report. Bitcoin, what do you think about Bitcoin? Bitcoin's doing okay the last few days. I'm not really putting too much weight in what it's doing today because it's kind of flat since the open and before that. But it's at 72.5, so it looks good. Alright, guys, we're going to wait for another dip here. I use a bunch of different sources for news. It was your fault, Paul, and I blame you, dude. No, I'm just joking. It's always Steve's fault. It's really, I'm trying to manage a bunch of different things, like running the stream. I should have bought. It would have been a great buy. I just missed it. I talked about it. Would have been a great buy. I just missed it. But honestly, we haven't moved up enough. Like, here's the script I have for the orb. We haven't really moved up enough for me not to attack a pullback here. You know, I wouldn't mind a dip down to like here or here. I just have to wait for it still. So patience is what I'm saying. Nvidia right now, guys, is starting to move up towards the high of the open. Still red on the day. 183 or so is the previous close. So if Nvidia gets over 183, it'll be technically green. Just got left behind. We gotta wait for a dip. Look at this rip here, though. Ugh. To infinity and beyond? Yeah, man, that's what it feels like right now. At least I was right. I'm just gonna try to be an optimist here. I was right. I wanted to buy the dip. I missed it. But the direction and the strategy I used was correct. So I'm going to celebrate it anyway. And you guys can't stop me. Dips are not available. Yeah. Not right now. They're not, man. I feel it. I feel it. Bitcoin's pumping. Yeah, it's fighting its way back up. And Bitcoin, 72.6s right now. $45 170s. Palantir going up. Let's take a look. I need some time. Nasdaq now technically green on the day. Oil right around $70, $78 an ounce. Oil still maintaining its war risk premium though prices. So oil showing the Middle Eastern fears are not necessarily resolved. Yeah, I'll take some of the retracement if we get it, but it's got to be like a decent size retracement. So I'll take some on the retracement, but it's got to be decent. Palantir at 156 right now. So Palantir up on war news as well. The VIX is going to be falling down. The Nasdaq's pushing up. Nasdaq is just not stopping here though, man. Look at this. 25 twos here. I could pivot to 150s, but it's a little bit too close. I don't know if there's enough meat on this move here necessarily yet. Oil green. And I don't really see any moves. The big story, guys, again, tomorrow. Payrolls. Be here. Payrolls tomorrow, guys. Big. We're starting to get a dip though. I'm gonna wait a second. But yeah. I need a larger dip here, though. A little micro dip's not going to cut it. There's just too much risk in buying up a small little baby pullback here, to be honest. So we'll give it a second. But too small of a dip. All right. OpenAI develops a bi-directional audio model according to the information. The dips are violet. I'm trying to wait here. I really am. We just haven't really had easy momentum. Pullbacks is what I mean. Not momentum, but pullbacks necessarily. So hasn't been easy, but that's all right. All right, so we're down to 25 180s here. 25 180s. Getting a little bit better. I'd like 150s maybe now. I could maybe take 150s, but I still think the meat of the move is a little bit small. We're green, but not a ton. So twitchy take profit fingers. Sometimes those are good. We got down to 155, not quite close enough. All right, guys. Not quite large enough of a pullback for me. I'm still kind of waiting for it. I think I'm just going to get out of here. What do you guys think? Should I stick around and trade? I don't know. All right, guys. So again, as soon as we close this stream, it's going to bring you to tomorrow's stream. Just be here for payrolls tomorrow at 8:30. That's probably the biggest report here. I'm just going to cut out of here. Again, if you want to check out Lucid, BT is the promo code BT. Looking at Lucid Trading. It's a funded account program. They give you a demo. They test your skill with it. You pass the test, they fund you. You fail, you only lose what you pay for it. And so it's a great way to learn when most day traders lose. All right, hold on. I'm going to take one position here. It is a large dip. We'll take 4 or 5 contracts here. See if we get a pop. We got 140 entry versus 150. But if we lose here, we'll be about flat on the day. That's a pretty large breakdown. I'll give it a second. But yeah, check out Lucid. Again, 60 million plus paid to traders. 50,000 traders use Lucid. Average payout time is only 15 minutes. They have a direct to funding option too. So if you go check out their packages here, they have a Lucid Direct. Really, the 25K Direct isn't really bad. It's about 238 after the coupon code. If you use promo code BT, check them out. We're still in this trade. I'm going to let this work. Again, if you want to check out Lucid, here's the link. They are an affiliate of mine. I am biased, but genuinely useful here, guys. There's the link right there. Use promo code BT. I'm still in this, though. We're about flat on the day. I'm not going to add more. I'm going to let it test this level here. Maybe I could have gone with 125, but...
You are now in the presence of a...
Yeah, we're close to my stop, but I'll probably sit in this. I want to give it a second to pop back higher here. I might reduce my size up here at the top, though, just in case it doesn't hold. And then maybe add back if we see some better price action. So we got out flat on half of it. Very small position now. There we go. If we go deep enough into the green, I'll add to this. But we need to go deeper into the green. There we go. All right, now I'm going to add to this, get a nice little rip up, and then probably hold the rest close to break even now with no risk virtually. I just don't want to get stuck in the chop. All right, we're going to take half of that off there. Shout out to everybody that told me to sell. We're going to cut the rest right there green. I'll take it. I'll take it. We did get the bounce. It was just a little bit early. Yeah, we're nicely green. I'll take it. Green is good. Maybe I'll buy back here, but I'm just going to cut out. I'll get out of here. Again, if you haven't already subscribed, hit the notification bell. I will see you guys tomorrow bright and early. Again, non-farm payrolls, unemployment, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Big report, guys. Big report. We'll see if we hold. Later, chat. Have a great day.